Let's run it a bit. Maybe 250 is too big. I'm going to try about 100. But that's roughly the speed I want it to go across the screen. I don't want it to go too quick. Maybe we'll just do 150. We can play around with this number to find the perfect spot later. Right now, we got the basic functionality though. It races across the screen. The next thing we want to do is set up a finish line. Let's not move those. Set up a finish line so that the first chicken that hits it gets declared the winner. So to make our finish line, I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to create that area 2D. And then for the visual part of it, all I want to do is instance my starting scene. And then take care of all the stuff we had to do with the chicken as far as area 2D goes. So we select the area 2D. We hit the plus. We add a collision shape 2D. And then from the collision shape 2D, we have to add a rectangle. So I got my rectangle shape. And all I really need to do is just make sure it crosses the beginning of the finish line. I'll add some depth to it, but it's not important. And again, it should span the whole width. So I'll go a little bit beyond. Now I want to move it back a bit. If we take a look here, it overhangs the start. So as our chickens come in, as soon as they touch it, the first frame that they touch, that's when it's detected. So I'm going to move it in a bit, just so it overlaps. If you really want to make it the proper width to fill, we can. But really all we need is just the beginning part. So about there. Scroll out, looks good. I'm going to save this as not area 2D. Let's rename it. We call it finish line. Now we can save it. And I'm going to come back into my field and instance it. So we got our finish line and it sticks it right there. We should change its color. We're going to go into the properties and do that. But first, I'm going to drag it to about here. Again, keep in mind, this is the actual end of our screen. So I need room for them to go over. Let's go back in and I'm going to change my finish line to red. So if we grab the color rect, I want a red color. There we go. We'll click off. We'll save it. Come back into our field. I'm going to save that as well. And we have the collider over top, but we can see the parts that stick out are red. If we were to run our scene now, there we go. Now we just have to detect when a chicken actually hits the finish line to declare a winner. And for the start, we'll just print it out down here. And we also want them to stop after they get across. But for now, let's just detect the winner. To do that, we're going to work with something called a signal. So a signal you can have fire off when a specific event happens. So I'm going to take before we do the finish line, we have to add a script to our field. This is going to be for our main game logic. So I'll hit the plus button. I'll just keep the field. We'll hit create. And for now, I'm going to get rid of everything that's inside of here. We don't need it. I'll save it. Well, not everything. We still want to make sure that we're extending color rect. But I'll save it, come back into the 2D view, select that finish line. And then up here beside the inspector, we have nodes. Now these are all of the signals that this particular node can emit. You can create custom signals, but the one that we're interested in is if a shape enters. So the way this works is we've got this collider set up, and anytime another area 2D shape touches it or overlaps it, it enters its space, we're going to call this function. So if you just double click it, by default, it's going to select our field. We don't have to change anything in here. So I'm just going to take the defaults, hit connect. It brings us to our script. Now, all we want to do for this first part is just print out the winner. Now, print puts messages down here in our output. And what we want to do is take a look at the area that crossed us. So it's of type area 2D. So that first chicken to cross our line, actually this is going to fire off for all the chickens, but we'll get them in order. We can say, hey, grab that area and just tell me the name. So if the first one crosses here, it'll just be chicken. If chicken 2 crosses first, I'll print out chicken 2. Actually, again, it's not first. It's a matter of the order that they all cross them in. We'll see when we run it. So I've got the field selected. Now to run it this time, we're going to hit the little play button, which will give us this pop-up. Now this allows us to set the default scene that's going to run every time we play our game if we were to export this out to an executable and distribute it. So I'm just going to pick selected scene because I have my field selected. If I didn't have the field selected, I could hit select and then pick the scene I want this way. Either one works. We'll notice down here that our field turned blue because that's our default scene. Now it's going to run across. So every time a chicken crosses, we'll get some output. So we can see chicken 7 was first, chicken 2. Chicken 2 looks like it went back, forward. Then we got 5, 3, 4, and so on. So let's stop it. Let's have the chicken stop when it reaches the finish line. Ideally, we'd have it keep going until it gets past the finish line. But, well, we only have a 40-minute class, and I think this will be enough to keep you busy. So again, right here, we can tell what chicken's crossing the finish line. What I'll do is tell it to stop moving. So if I come into my chicken script, I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to create a variable. To create a variable in GDScript, we use the keyword var. Then we got to give it a name. I'll just say is underscore active. I want to give it its type, which is Boolean. And I'm going to start it off at being true. So Booleans, they have two values, true or false. Either I like to think of it as a light switch, it's on or it's off. Now what I'll do is I'll come down to process and I'll check to see if it is active. If that value is equal to true, take note of the double equal sign. Up here with a single equal sign, what we're doing is we're assigning what's on the right into the variable on the left. When we see the two equal signs, we're comparing both of these to see if they're equal. In this case, is active is set to true. So both of these are true. Therefore, we're going to run all the code that's tabbed in underneath, in which case remove. If it's not true, in the case when we switch this to false, it won't move. So it's going to skip that line. So now I need to create a function to turn it off. So we'll create a new function, func, and we'll say, let's just call it stop chicken. We'll just call it stop. We haven't talked about return types, so we won't worry about that. Just type that out. And all I'm going to do is take is active and set it to false. That's the only code we need here. I'm not going to play with anything in the ready yet. So we'll come back to our, was the field right here. And in here, not only are we going to print out the name of the thing that won, we also want to come down now and say area dot, then whatever we name that function. In this case, for me, it was stop. Now I'm going to hit the play button again. And now they should stop as soon as they touch the line. We'll still get the message down here. And then in the next video, if we go further, we can make it a little bit prettier. There we go. So chicken 6 won, followed by chicken 1, then so on. All right. If you want to see more of this, let me know down below. We'll go ahead and switch out some sprites. It really annoys me that they stop at the finish line. I want them to stop over here. I still want to record who crosses the finish line first, but I'd like to know, I'd like them to line up over here. But anyway, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.